Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Café New Canadians. Over the next 1 hour, you'll be hearing from two experts who mentor and support new Canadian entrepreneurs. They're here to share some actionable strategies and tips and advice on how to steer your business out of the COVID-19 crisis. Now, this edition of Café New Canadians is brought to you by New Canadians, which is a television and web-based series for New Canadians in Canada. I like to say we are a content company for New Canadians, by New Canadians, and of New Canadians. Through our nationally aired program on Omni and through our digital platforms, we inform and educate new Canadians about employment, settlement, education, culture, and lots more. You can watch us on Omni, our YouTube channel, our website, newcanadians.tv, and all across social media platforms. You can follow our content and all the expert tips that we bring to you regularly. Okay, I'm your host for this edition. I'm Vasudha Sharma, and very pleased to now welcome our guests for this evening, Karla Brown, immigrant serial entrepreneur and business coach for newcomers to Canada. Karla leads her namesake consulting firm, Karla Brown Consulting, where she mentors new Canadian entrepreneurs. Karla says she is a self-confessed lover of all things business. We also have today Otis Mushonga, manager of programs and services at Access Community Capital Fund, which helps entrepreneurs with no credit history or collateral obtain business loans and training. Welcome to both of you. Before I get talking with my guest today, I want to inform our viewers that all through this 1 hour chat, you can send in your questions to us. Our topic today is how to steer your business out of the COVID-19 crisis. You can submit your questions on Zoom, also on the YouTube live chat option where we are being live streamed. Keep the questions coming in. Let us know what you'd like to hear more in this session with Karla and Otis, and we'll post your questions live and they'll be happy to help. Okay, Karla and Otis, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Karla, let me begin with you. What's keeping you motivated and happy during this time?
That's quite the question, because aside from being a business consultant, I also have bricks and mortar, and one of them is a restaurant. So happiness, it's an overstatement. It's actually challenging times. But right now, what's actually keeping me motivated is finding a way to support the community while still trying to keep my business afloat. And the way I'm doing it is by doing some fundraising through my local community so that we can feed healthcare workers. So that is really motivating, especially when you go and deliver the food to the different hospitals, seeing their, the doctor and nurses' faces that haven't eaten all day, and being able to provide something of value to the community that's been supporting us.
Coming to you, Otis, thank you for joining us. And how are you keeping your spirits up these days?
Well, I think from a work perspective, it's being able to respond to our clients' needs. And during this time, it's a trying time for everyone. And we understand that everyone needs the support that they can get. So being able to respond to our clients' needs at this time is a great satisfaction. Being able to find ways that we can help them navigate through the different challenges that they might be facing. That's a source of satisfaction for me. On the home front, I have two little ones who keep us busy. So, it's never a dull moment. So spirits will always be up and down and so on. So like everybody else, there will be frustrations, but on the whole, it's been great so far.
Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. Karla, coming back to you, we're talking about how to, resurrect your business, how to steer your business out of these unsettling times and emerge stronger. What do you recommend are the first top priorities for any new Canadian business owner at this time? I know in the first phase, it's always a reactive phase, and then you start rebuilding. What are the first priorities for them?
I think the first priority is to cut costs everywhere you can. So take a look at your P&L, so your cash flow basically, and take a look at what are those small things that you can get rid of. And you'd be surprised at how many little things can add up. So for example, that small subscription into, the music service, or that small subscription here and there, they can actually really add up and eat into your margins. So definitely cutting costs is number one. Number two would be to actually reach out to your community. I find that a lot of my clients, and also where we're coming from, we're used to operating very independently. However, Canada does have a lot of really good networking groups that are still very active, more so right now, to help business owners. So definitely finding those communities so that you don't feel alone and you don't feel so deflated in such an uncertain time is key. And it's also opens it up so that you can actually brainstorm other ideas on how to resurrect your business or how to keep going. But yeah, so basically cash flow is unfortunately or fortunate is going to be king in your business. So reducing the cost as much as you can and reaching out to the community and trying to get some inspiration from other business owners.
Otis, Karla just talked about the whole financial aspect of this experience. Give us a sense of your role at Access Community Capital Fund and how the organization really supports entrepreneurs, new Canadian entrepreneurs at this time.
So at Access Community Capital Fund, which is a registered Canadian charity, we operate within the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. So what we do is give an opportunity to those with viable ideas on the business side who want to start a business or expand an existing one, but have challenges getting the funding that they need to do so through mainstream sources because of different challenges that they may face, especially when it comes to credit and when it's new entrepreneurs, new to Canada. That's a big challenge when it comes to not having the credit history that you can take to the bank and be able to secure a loan to help you get started. Or it could be the stage where your business is at in terms of you just have a plan, and typically banks don't fund plans for the most part. They are looking to help those with revenue that they can demonstrate that they are already having that coming in the door. So we help by trying to ensure that we give that opportunity to those aspiring entrepreneurs, whether they're Canadians or anyone here in Canada is within our catchment area who may be facing those challenges.
Karla, what do you make of the various measures that the Government of Canada has introduced to support small business owners and entrepreneurs? Many are complaining that many are falling through the cracks and they probably don't qualify for it. Is there enough for them?
It depends on the size of the business, unfortunately. So your micro entrepreneurs, your solopreneurs, or the people that are operating on their own, unfortunately, they probably wouldn't qualify for many of them. For the rent relief program, unless you've had to shut down your operations completely, you may qualify for it, but it's also dependent on the the landlord. So it's not that they rolled out this program and all of a sudden you are eligible for it. You're actually at the mercy of your landlord to see if even your landlord wants to participate in it. They talk about covering 75% of your rent, but the small print is 75% of your base rent. And usually a rent structure is divided in two, is your base rent, but then you also pay your common elements, and your base rent may be $10 a square foot, but your common elements are probably the same 10. So really they're not really covering the entirety of what you have to pay for rent. But even to qualify for that, you need to see the revenue drop to 70%. And if you stay open, like a restaurant doing takeout or working through Uber Eats or the third-party apps, dropping by 70% your revenue, it's probably not feasible because there's still revenue coming in. So what happens to those that have dropped by 65%, and they're not making that threshold, and they're still not eligible for that rent relief program. So I think Canada has been doing a lot of really good things. The government has been doing a lot of really good things, but the devil's in the details, right? So once they roll them out and you start reading the fine print, you realize, oh, you know what, I don't qualify for this, or I've been paying myself in dividends, and I don't qualify for the wage relief program. So there's a lot of caveats to these programs. I guess they're made for like your medium-sized business, but for the micro entrepreneur, the solopreneur, they can be very cumbersome to access. So although they're well-intentioned, I think there's a whole bunch of entrepreneurs that are falling through the cracks, unfortunately.
So there is access. Are there other organizations who could be providing relief to these people falling through the cracks?
I think just to touch on and pick up from where Karla left off, the government programs that are out there through organizations like BDC, which is a Crown Corporation, that I think much of the relief that's coming to entrepreneurs may be channeled through, especially the loan programs that they've announced. Those are being channeled through banks as well. So people could check with their bank and see if they are able to apply for that. Again, when it comes to it, it will all boil down to eligibility as well, in terms of whether they qualify or not. Unfortunately, we are not part of that process, but there are those options that people can look into and see if if they do have already some type of loan with a bank, they could look and reach out and see if they could get some deferrals on their loan payments, or on any other, or discuss some arrangements around the payments that they are paying right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have a number of viewers joining us from across Canada, and let us know, what are your top concerns during this time? If you're a business owner, independent contractor, entrepreneur, let us know what your top concerns are at this time. You can type in the chat box on Zoom, or also submit your thoughts on the live chat option on YouTube. So we're hearing a number of key buzzwords, which are not really buzzwords, but actual strategies being implemented. There's the business continuity plan, there's talk of resilience. How does an independent contractor develop that mindset? How does he or she gain that knowledge to actually walk that path?
To create a continuity plan?
To maintain the continuity of their business, or even have a plan on paper on how their future is going to unfold.
Yeah, so obviously thinking about what's your plan B. So if your plan A right now is staying open, what is your plan B? What is your plan B once the economy starts to open up? Are you going to have enough staff? Are you, what is going to be your MO, so your operation modus, so that you can continue to thrive. So, and right now it's actually a great opportunity to, because right now it's the worst of the worst. Like, I don't know if it can get worse than this. So it's a great opportunity as an entrepreneur to actually sit down and plan, okay, so what are the things that I should have, or I could have done better, or that I could have been prepared with? So prepare your contingency plan. Okay, so if something happens where, I come into a financial difficulty in the future, what are the things that I can plan now, that I can have sort of like a document? Okay, well, I can ask for deferrals on your loans, or I can start, reducing cost on these and these, subscriptions that are not necessary. So right now is actually a great opportunity. It's teaching us to painfully to actually come up with different contingencies so that our business can thrive and survive. And then the other thing is start thinking about what the business is going to look like once the economy starts opening up, once people are gaining that confidence to walk into your restaurant, or walk into your shop, or walk into your, whatever business you have. It's not going to happen like right away. It's going to be a gradual increase, but how are you going to manage your business actually increasing now? How do you have the staff? Do you have, the systems in place? So it's a great opportunity right now to actually start planning for that.
I can pick up that too,
Yeah.
if I may, just to mention that this is a great opportunity to adapt and innovate. So innovation, when you come into business, you've got a plan, and as we all know, with all plans, it's just a roadmap that helps you, guide you, and you want to constantly be revising that plan. And most of the times, it's disrupted by things that are out of your control, like this current situation that we are in. But you should be ready with a mindset of adapting through that and working through that. With our organization at Access Community Capital Fund, we also have started a webinar series called Adapting and Innovating During and Beyond COVID-19, right? So it's the current crisis, but looking beyond it. So if anyone is interested, they can check out the webinars that we have on our website at accessccf.com, www.accessccf.com. So I think that the theme of adapting and innovating, looking at ways that you can pivot and reposition yourself to take advantage of the current situation. Right now, maybe it's looking at reconfiguring your model, right? Whether if you can, maybe looking at online platforms, moving to an online presence if you've never had an online presence, and maybe it's a plan on beefing that up and making sure that you ramp it up and take advantage of those opportunities that exist. Everyone is online right now, right? Everyone is Zooming, everyone is pretty much looking at information daily, and whether on the technology side, it's about gaining those skills that you otherwise may not have been in a position to gain during the normal day-to-day type of situation. So I think, and everyone is being forced to learn new things, like the technology aspect. Not everyone was for going online, and now if you are not, and if you're not taking advantage of that, sometimes you're going to get left behind when things start to get back to somewhat normal, and I put that in quotes because it may look a lot different than the pre-COVID-19 time that we were in.
And on that actually,
2.0.
Oh, sorry. On that, actually, I have a couple of clients that have done that on the innovation side. Necessity is the mother of all innovation, right? So one of them is a hairdresser. So hairdressers, they're closed, right? Like they can't accept any clients. So we were doing some brainstorming, and actually we came up with this idea of her doing hair consultations for women who need to dye their hair, because without going to the hairdresser, there's a lot of grays starting to come up. So she's actually doing hair consultations over the internet, and then matching the hair color, mixing the hair color herself, and actually sending the pre-mixed color to the customer, so that, and then she's doing like a one-on-one tutorial on how to apply the product. And all of a sudden she has revenue coming in. So
that's genius.
It is, yeah. So, or for example, myself, I have a restaurant, and my revenue dropped significantly, but then I started looking at, what can I do in order to increase? Well, I have a very healthy supply chain in terms of accessing groceries and accessing produce and fruits and vegetables through my distributors. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm in the grocery business now. So now I'm providing grocery baskets home delivered to people that don't want to go to grocery stores. So innovating, again, necessity is the mother of all innovation, and trying to think outside of the box and trying to take a look at your business and see, okay, what can I do that I haven't done ever, but that I could potentially put a fun twist or an out of the box twist that could actually still service my clientele. So I've seen a lot of really cool innovations actually from my clients.
If I can pick up on that theme as well, just quickly, and I say necessity is a mother of taking chances, right? It's the risk, reward, situation, right? Some may be in that place where they think it's not the right time to take a risk but great innovations, great things have come out of adversity or situations that seem to be dire, like this one. So, like to your point, Karla, you've taken the risk and or able to leverage and pivot to a new opportunity. So I think it's being able to recognize the risk and reward and assess whether the direction you want to go in is a viable one, and be bold enough to take that plunge.
Yeah. A lot of people are also emphasizing on the importance of communicating well to your customer base at this time, because it's a very sensitive time and people will remember if you did good during this time. How do you communicate with your customers? What do you say? Is, like you said, this is an opportunity to innovate, but is this an opportunity to sell, and how do you sell with empathy?
Absolutely. And now more than ever. And I think now more than ever, your clientele or your customer base is more supportive, because right now I can see, at least in my local community in Ottawa, I'm based in Ottawa, I can see the community rallying together to support local businesses, and there's a really strong shop local movement right now. So now more than ever is the time to reach out to your clientele. Be very transparent of where you are as a business. Like I did an act of humility the other day where I actually wrote an email to all of my clients and said, listen, I debated whether or not writing this email. It took a lot of humility for me to send it, but these are the ways that you can support our businesses. You can shop local. You can, if you need groceries, I can send groceries. And just know that by shopping local, you are supporting families that are, that need to put food on their tables. So communication and being candid and being genuine is key right now. And now more than ever, I think your audience is willing to support you if you ask for help, and they're willing to, they're very forgiving as well. If you make a mistake or whatnot, so long as you own up to it, they're now more than ever, there's a lot of support and there's a lot of acceptance and there's a lot of shop local movement. So absolutely communicating with your audience is key, and also trying to find a way in supporting your community. Like, it's a give and take, right? So how can you support your community? Can you do a fundraiser? Can you match something, for every $50 that you spend, I'll donate something to the food bank, or, just a way that it shows the community that you're also invested in them.
Right. Otis, as you work with these new Canadian entrepreneurs, what are you hearing from them? What are their big concerns right now, and what is your message to them?
Yeah, I think the concerns from all clients of ours is similar to what everyone else is going through. Is the challenges with the cash flow, foremost, whether it's personal or business. There is that concern that they need to keep food on the table, make sure they stay afloat, and as we've already alluded to, that there are different programs out there, there are different resources that could help during this time. I would encourage people to be bold, not to shy away from seeking that help, because I think that tends to be one of those things that most people tend to not want to do, to ask for help. But everyone recognizes that we need to be in there for each other during this time, more so than ever. So I think it's important to just reach out, and whether it's someone who may not directly be able to help you, they might guide you in the right way, like we do. We've got resources on our website to guide people in the right direction. That's why we've put this webinar series together, and anyone who wants to reach out to us, we try to help in the best way we can, but we are not guaranteeing that we'll be able to do that right through, but the best way we can, we'll try to be there. So there is that, don't be afraid to ask for help. Be patient too, right? Everyone is anxious during this time, so just be patient as you work through your plan and seek the right help, as you work with the right team and seek the right advice and the right resources. It helps reduce that anxiety. Mental health is our mental health is being tested right now, and everyone in one way or the other probably has had that concern, and so it's very important to make sure that we maintain that in good standing.
We have a question coming in from our viewer saying, are there any job opportunities or alternative revenue sources for entrepreneurs whose businesses is down and they may be looking to benefit from alternative sources of income? I know that the government announced that if you can manufacture masks and other medical equipment, they will be willing to ease the restrictions on how they accept them. Are there other such opportunities that you see out in the market?
I do see one. I think right now, this pandemic is actually going to be great for the gig economy. So the opportunities that exist right now for people that have businesses that either are down or can't operate fully, there's, for example, a website called Ruckify, Ruckify, and it's actually a website where you can rent anything. So for example, if you own I'm going to go back to the restaurant just because that's easy for me. Like if you own a restaurant and you're not operating at full capacity or are closed, are there any things in your restaurant that you can rent out to other people? Or if you own, like a hardware store, are there any pieces of equipment that you can rent out and start making some disposable income that way? So that is definitely one. Are you a freelancer? Like take a look at what the opportunities are out there. Right now, like Otis said, online shopping. Like, are you savvy? Like, are you tech savvy enough to potentially help other businesses stay, afloat with an online shop and set them up to an online shop and work as a freelancer that way? Like, there's other ways of doing it. They're not necessarily like government funded, like you have to hustle for them, but there's always a way. Of course, it probably, like the renting stuff, for example, it probably won't replace your business income, but it will definitely, it's just a separate, separate disposable income that you can do. And again, like take a look at what are the opportunities right now. What are, like, digitizing everything is an opportunity. If you're adept at Zoom meetings or other type of webcasting, can you potentially give a class and a webinar that could be charged for that, for the
or
business.
How to style yourself for a Zoom meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there's many opportunities on the online world, that if you have a savviness or if you're really good at something that comes really natural to you, is there an opportunity for you to share that knowledge and productize it? So they're not necessarily like programs from the government, but there's other ways of innovating and trying to find a different income source.
Mm-hmm. What do you recommend should be the essential mindset, the healthy mindset for entrepreneurs during this time? What kind of habits should they be looking to build so that they can ride through this tough time?
I can talk about the patience. It's a good trait to have, right? As I mentioned before, it's good to not be overwhelmed. Try not to be overwhelmed by the situation, and really take the time to look into all of the opportunities that are out there. Be connected to different, whether it's online training or programs, webinar series that are going on, so that you can learn from others as well. Right? Don't keep to yourself, and this is a time to connect more than ever. Network online. Just find out how others are are adapting, or what strategies they are employing to ensure that they continue to remain and not to lose hope in the idea that they have, or the business, whether it's at the startup phase, or it's in that expansion phase. It's very important that people stay positive, and as well as looking at those opportunities. It can be daunting right now to want to give up, whether you just started and you don't see a way out right now. I think it's very important to keep focused on that goal, on that dream that you had of achieving your goal of owning your business. And it's part of the process. It's a learning process, and as I said, leveraging to getting those skills that you may not otherwise have is necessarily thought about acquiring. It might be this is the time to do that, and to look into just making sure that you have a well-rounded slate of skills.
Can I add to that? It sounds very, very simple and very, very dumb, but make your bed every day. You have no idea how, like, if you start your day and you make your bed, all of a sudden it's just this, for me at least, it's just that little habit, because it's very easy to just wake up and just not do your bed, and then all of a sudden your mood starts going down and down and down. But if you make your bed and you make it like really nice, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, what else can I do? For me, it's just like a shot of coffee. Making my bed actually it sets my day to actually, okay, I accomplished this. Okay, what is the next right thing that I can accomplish? Particularly in situations like that, where, like you said, Otis, the mental health and motivation can be at its low right now. But simple little acts of like making your bed, it sounds dumb, but it actually works, because you feel accomplished, and then you're like, okay, what other thing can I do that I can feel accomplished for? Okay, well, I'm gonna make this call, or I'm gonna reach out to this other entrepreneur, or I'm gonna take an hour to brainstorm on who else can I reach out to, or what other like how can I adapt. What else can I do? So yeah, for me, like making my bed is really important, because it really sets the tone of my day, and being resilient. And I think as immigrants, we're already very resilient. We're probably more resilient than those people that haven't experienced moving from another country. So I think that's our superpower too, as immigrants. Like, don't underestimate the resilience that we do have, because we've gone through a lot. We've started over already, like once, twice. That depends on how many times we move countries, but there's that resilience and that tenacity to survive. So just remember those roots and hold on to those, because it's a superpower that we have as immigrants.
Karla, you call yourself a serial entrepreneur. Take us through those times when there was no COVID-19, but you went through those challenges and actually emerged stronger from it. Take us through that story.
Yeah. So I started. So I have 4 businesses right now. I have 2 retail shops. I have a restaurant, and then my consulting. But my retail was the first one, and I opened it as I was also a new mom. So I had a newborn baby and a new business, and I was learning how to be both, how to be a mom and how to be a business owner. And yeah, there were a lot of sleepless nights, either because my baby was waking me up, or because my pressure and my anxiety of not being able to meet payroll would keep me awake. So yeah, so obviously, financial issues are always the things that stress you out and that keep you awake as an entrepreneur, as a person in general, but as an entrepreneur particularly. Yeah, so there's definitely been times where my cash flow has been out of whack, or situations where all of a sudden you have a high turnover, where a lot of employees leave you at the same time, and all of a sudden you have this vacuum where you need to fill it, and you're working day in and day out, and you're missing, seeing your kids or your family because you have to be working there. So there's been a lot of adversities, but again, as resilient people that we are, we always find a way. And you know what, there's always a friend, and there's always a family member that is willing to help, and is just relying on being humble enough to ask for help. So there's definitely been a lot of difficult times in the 10 years that I've been an entrepreneur, and they just make you stronger and wiser, I guess.
Yeah. And like you both say, being humble and asking for help when you need it. What is the power of connections at this time and your network? And how should entrepreneurs and business owners be seeking out those mentors or that help, or maybe that investor who could help them during this time?
Otis, you want to answer that?
I think it's very important right now to, the networking is always been a key thing that we all talk about, whether it's for professionally or even more so when you're an entrepreneur, because it can be a lonely venture, right? If you're a sole proprietor, you have to deal with all these other different aspects of running your business. You might be good at one aspect, but not great at all the others. The finances might be your weak link. You might be good at the marketing side, but least, great at all the others. So it's very important to be able to reach out and get that support, whether it's through a mentor or someone you trust, or through the resources that are available out there, through the, I know the city has different business centers. They run workshops on small business. They've got business advisors. So there's a whole lot of that support network. I think in Canada, they, compared to where I'm from, and maybe where most people who have come to Canada are from, they can relate that there is a whole lot, and it can be overwhelming to get lost in all of that. Moving from not having any support network or resources available to moving to a place where there's a whole host of them, and trying to figure out how to navigate through those. So I think it's good to go to those starting points, and being careful to just get the right people within your network that can advise you candidly, give you constructive criticism and guidance through at Access Community Capital Fund. Our clients, we do provide one-to-one coaching, business coaching, just to have that someone to bounce ideas off of, and to help them navigate through the different aspects of their business plans or their operational plan. So we provide those supports as well. We're not just here to say, here are the funds, go and get started, and good luck. No, we want to make sure that everyone is well supported, and so that it sets you up for success, not for failure. Because if you're a small business, we know the stats, right? Most tend to fail within the first 2 years or so, or over half of them do. But it may be as a result of a combination of factors, and most of those can probably be traced to not having the right knowledge or the right networks to assist in developing that solid and foundation.
And actually, just to add to that, just something like more specific, if actually people are looking for a place to network, or it's all online right now, but normally it's not, but they're doing it online now anyways. Just Google Small Business Enterprise Center and then your location. So if you are in, Ancaster, or if you're in Toronto, or if you're in Mississauga, or Etobicoke, or Ottawa, wherever, just like Google these words, Small Business Enterprise Center, and these are usually the small business economic development centers that are paid for, or by the city. Actually, there's all different levels of government that contribute to it, and that's where they have workshops on small business management. They have small business advisory. They've got clinics, usually free clinics on accounting with an accountant, or free clinics with a corporate lawyer. So these are like they're great resources. Sometimes underutilized, I think, by newcomers because we don't know what we don't know unless somebody tells us. But they're a gold mine. Like I highly 100% recommend that people Google Small Business Enterprise Center and then the area where you live and see which one is the closest to you.
That's great. That's really helpful. What kind of businesses or what kind of business behavior is going to emerge successful, or maybe not unscathed, but maybe slightly is able to survive this time? What kind of business or business behavior, what kind of attitude will emerge unscathed from this time?
I think it's that, comes back to that ability to adapt, being able to
and also managing your cash flow, operations, communication.
Yeah, so those will be more the key things that you will need to focus on your day-to-day operations, and make sure that you have those figured out. So practical standpoint is really looking at what you can do in order to manage your current cash flow, or the crisis that you might be facing, or the challenges you might be facing, by reaching out to your funders, or your bank, or whoever it might be, investor, and making sure that you can make some arrangements that can help you to minimize the financial burden that it might have for you during this time, and also setting you up for the when all this is over, so that you emerge in a good place. You're in a solid, or not, you may be still facing some challenges, but you're not quite at a stage where you are too much under the water, that you won't be able to at least swim through to the other side. So it's very important to keep that in mind, and also being able to just look at as Karla mentioned, look at those key things that you can do without right now, and try to maintain a lean budget or cash flow outlook that can help you weather the storm and help you on the other side. So it's very important to really look at revisit that plan, right? For the most part, once businesses start, people forget the plan. They are focused on the actual practical doing, and little time is left to actually revisiting it and seeing where things could be refined and repositioned. So this might be a good time to do that. Doing the reflection, and really stepping back and seeing how you can reposition yourself and setting yourself up for future success.
For myself, I've learned something really cool. Again, coming from countries where the government doesn't really do much for you, and then coming to this country where all of a sudden you're overwhelmed with the help, or you're overwhelmed with the variety of centers to help you and whatnot, that sometimes you don't even know what to do with so much help, or you don't even know that exists. But I actually realized that advocacy, like not staying quiet about something that you don't agree with, they take it into consideration. They actually listen to you. So for example, with the rent thing last week when they announced it, I started seeing, oh my God, I'm not going to qualify because of this and that. And then I'm like, I'm going to write to my MP. Many times you hear it. Now, you should write to your MP. You should write to your MP. And I in my Mexican mind, I thought, oh my God, like they're not even going to listen to me. Oh my God. I wrote to my MP on Friday, and by Monday I had a phone call from their office saying, okay, can you please explain what the situation is? Can you please explain what is your suggestion? So not just present to them a problem, but present to them a potential solution that if you have some. And they actually listened. They actually said, okay, we're going to bring this to the upper level, because we're not in the front lines like you guys are, like you business owners are. And we won't know unless you guys tell us. So I've learned very magically that they listen. They actually do listen, and they actually encourage it. So I encourage all business owners that feel that if anything is not, you feel that it's not, right or not right, but like it's not beneficial, or if you're falling through the cracks, or if you have a different solution idea that could work, write to your MP. They actually listen. They do listen, and there's nothing more powerful than advocating for yourself, because at the end you're going to be advocating for other entrepreneurs as well. And there's nothing more rewarding than actually feeling heard and feeling like your voice matters, because it does. They just need to hear it. So
that is so empowering to know that your voice is going to be heard. Your local elected official actually responded to you. That's wonderful. And there are so many local resources and charitable organizations, there's Access and so many others. We're closing.
I can just add on to Karla's point, because yes, that's great to reach out to your MP. And actually next week, we do have a session through our webinars series where we have one of our the local MP, Adam Vaughn, who will be on to answer any questions that people might have around the government supports that are being rolled out, any specific questions. So, there is an opportunity to tune in and really lend your voice, ask your questions, and be really bold enough to air your thoughts and be ready to receive guidance, and you can follow up with them, even past the sessions, and really reach out if you have any specific needs that are pertinent to yourself, that may not necessarily be common to everyone. So it's very important to know that. So thank you, Karla, for bringing that up, because that's something that we are also reaching out to, and we've already and there, it was just reaching out to them and to him, and he said, yes, I'm available, let's set it up, and here we are. And so next week we are having a session on May 7th with Adam Vaughn.
Excellent. As we come to the close of this session, I have one last question for both of you. If you had a crystal ball and if you could look into the post-COVID world, what do you think the world is going to look like economically for businesses?
Wow. I think I'm going back to, I think local is going to be king. I think there's going to be a surge, obviously in technology, on innovation and technology, and the way that you're able to access different services and different products. I think that there's going to be, I think a really good business opportunity is micro local, like hyper local distribution of products or of goods, anything that is made local, and create some sort of distribution company for that, by locals for locals. I think that's going to be huge. And the other thing, again, because I know the restaurant industry, I think there's going to be a surge in ghost kitchens. That's what they're called. So basically restaurants that don't really have seating. It's just like, they're just a kitchen and they just rely on third parties to deliver. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for customers to be confident enough to go out in masses, but I think we're going to bounce back. We're going to bounce back, and we're going to be stronger than ever before, because we've been through the worst. And I think even also more connected, because this this time that we're not able to actually connect in person has forced us to seek out that connection electronically. And yeah, and I think that the connections have been really cool, been very different this time around. And I think coming out of it, there's going to be a lot more collaboration between entrepreneurs and between business groups and whatnot, because we've already started right now.
Yeah, I think the partnerships are going to be key. There will be a lot of that, hopefully, building on what has been started now, and hopefully that doesn't unravel, right? It's going to continue. So certain key elements of what are already happening now, like the online presence, is that's going to continue, and it's very important to jump on that bandwagon right now and they seek those opportunities and be ready to pivot and leverage towards the so-called new, new dispensation that's going to come out of this crisis. So it's very important to just make sure that it's you stay connected and make those meaningful connections last and build on those relationships beyond. Don't just think about the crisis as this is the only time that I need the help, and then after that you're back on your own. So that mindset should, I think, continue, and hopefully it will help sustain and make people more resilient and the collective effort. I know the Access has supported some catering collectives where it's groups of women coming together. They all have a passion for cooking, and as opposed to doing it individually, they're coming together in those ways so that they can take advantage of the different skill sets. And so maybe that could be something that we see more of happening, and many others that may be more online and technology related.
I also think that people are going to start questioning commuting to work. Yeah, I think businesses are going to start questioning their rent. It's like, do we really need this?
Yeah.
We've been able to operate at home, and so yeah.
And many companies are reporting rise in productivity and, of course, cost cutting.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
And that work-life balance that has always been a question, right? I think this has been an opportunity for to really see how that works, right? You're home, and how are you able to at least continue being productive in the midst of all the other things that are happening within, right? So it's I think there are certain things that will continue and have businesses rethink some of their models of operation and really hope that those continue, because you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your team, and if this has proven to be a working model where you don't necessarily need to have everyone in the office at the same time, this could be something that's here to stay.
And good for the environment.
Yes.
Our carbon footprint is going to be cut down. And also consumption.
Yeah.
Buying lesser clothes, fewer clothes.
And as well, I think people have, I think just thinking through household budgets and, those cutting what's not really necessary, hopefully that stays and that becomes a way that businesses and, even individuals build that resilience and new mindset towards being, very careful in managing cash flow, because you realize that you could do without it during this time for how many months you can still do without it even beyond, right? So it's probably something that will likely help in shifting that mindset and those habits.
Yeah. This was an excellent session. It was lovely talking to you, Otis and Karla. Thank you so much. In fact, this sentiment is also echoed by Laz Madronero. He says, excellent info and tips. It helps a lot. Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. Nice to hear that.
Thank you so much for joining us. You were watching us on Café New Canadians. We were talking about how to steer your business out of the COVID-19 crisis. And we had with us Karla Briones, immigrant serial entrepreneur and business coach for newcomer Canadians, and Otis Mushonga from Access Community Capital Fund. To learn more about their work, you can visit their website, newcanadianentrepreneur.ca for Karla, and for Otis, Access. All right, that was Café New Canadians. Thank you for joining us. You can see a recording of this edition on our YouTube channel and our website. On May 6th, we're coming back to you with a session dedicated to LinkedIn and the power of your story and your brand presence with Shelley Elsliger, globally recognized LinkedIn trainer, May 6th, 7:30 p.m. right here on Café New Canadians. And across the social media platforms, keep following us. We'll bring you new updates on our upcoming sessions and the topics we'll be taking up: networking, career, jobs, LinkedIn. We talked about business today. We talked taxes a few weeks ago. Lots more coming up. We also have a profile on Telegram there, so follow us there as well. And our monthly newsletter brings you a curated list of all the content that we've been churning out in the last few weeks during COVID-19, especially tailored to this time and your needs and concerns as a newcomer Canadian. And as you pop out of this session, Zoom will give you a survey. Please fill in those questions and let us know how you found today's session, what you'd like to know more from Café New Canadian, what kind of topics can we bring to you, and how can we help you during this time? Let us know. And that's a wrap on Café New Canadians. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Karla and Otis.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Good night, everyone, and stay safe.